Buongiorno Vas,
Buongiorno Anna, come stai?
bene, grazie. Senti, io allora per il momento mi ammutolisco. Buongiorno Vas,
Buongiorno Anna, come stai?
bene, grazie.
Hello?
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 Yeah, my user.
Yeah.
Hey, Troy.
Hey, buddy. Hi.
How you doing, Troy?
I'm doing fine. Thank you.
Finally made it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice. Okay. Vaz, can you see Troy?
How are you doing?
I am fine. Thank you. And you?
Mark, all good?
All good. Yes, Vaz, all good. So I guess you have Troy and you have Nadi, right?
Yeah, we
Hi.
have Harry here, we have Troy, we have almost everybody. Let's wait for a little longer, and then we have Professor Narang as well. I see her on screen. So we're almost ready to start. Let's wait for another maybe a couple of minutes and let people join.
Lovely.
Ishwarya. Put some weight here, no? Some weight. Oh, like a scissor, some weight.
Hey, Nari, you there?
Yep. Hi. Can you hear me?
Hi, Nari. How you doing? Yeah, I can hear you. Good to see you guys again amidst the lockdown in Mumbai one more time.
Good morning.
Hi, Vandana ma'am. How are you?
I'm good.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning.
Morning.
The
Good
pleasure is
morning.
all ours. Thank you.
We have had a record of students and participants registering. So we have around 1,300 registrations. So we need to give them a little time to log in. We're right now at around 400 registrants who logged in into the system. So I guess we wait for a little longer, and then we can start. I think both Indian time and Italian time gives us, as they say, the academic 5 minutes to wait before we begin. So
Absolutely.
a little bit of patience. I hope it's okay with everybody, and then we can start off at maybe 12:03, 12:04. Let's start.
Not a problem. Hopefully it works with all of us too. Thank you. Nari, so what's keeping you busy?
Quite a bit, actually. different fun young projects coming along. Amazon keeps me really, really busy though. A lot of work happening for Amazon. But there is a lot of nice, youthful, fun stuff coming in the social commerce stuff. You know,
We'll talk about all that later. What I meant was, what are you doing now? We enter lockdown again, Nari. Troy,
I know.
Mumbai goes into lockdown one more time.
Yeah, it is horrible for another month, right? But
till the end of April, yeah.
We should not be complaining. We at least got to go out until like last few days, and then another month that we'll be sitting at home. It just puts your business in a really shitty place.
That's right. Absolutely.
But hey, we are not the only ones suffering. There's a lot of us in the same boat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I guess we sail along with everybody, and we are not special.
Yeah.
But the thing that I see this time, different between the first and this time, is that first time it was at the lower end of society. Today, I know 20 people personally who have been hit by COVID.
Yeah.
Same here. Absolutely. So many of our friends are down with COVID. And
so in the first round, you never heard of that.
Yeah. So many people from the film industry, you know, so it's amazing because they've started shooting
outside too, you know, outside too, people are telling stories every day. There are stories, people are now documenting their stay in the ICUs and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, 25-year-old, 30-year-old people in ICUs because of COVID, man, that is scary.
That is scary. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
you know, Troy does a lot of work helping out people with their vaccinations and especially the older people. That's really commendable, you know. He's been taking a lot of people to have them vaccinated.
Yeah.
This new strain is very infectious, but it's a very low strain. Unlike the first strain where it did not travel that quickly, but the strain itself was very devastating. You know, people died and all of that. Now the numbers have increased, but people are getting cured in 5 to 6 days.
Okay, guys, we are live now. Okay, Vas?
Live. So let's thank you for making the time. I'll give the mic to Maria to make a brief introduction. Maria?
Yeah. So welcome, namaste. I'm Maria Casadei and I want to welcome you all to today's webinar, Design India. Today we will have simultaneous translation in Italian and English. First, let me introduce our moderators. Mr. Mark Robinson, the Indian legend and supermodel.
Prego. Good afternoon.
And Mr. Vasant Shanoy, President of Association Sakshi.
Thank you so much.
I would like to request Professor Anna Filigensi, board member of Association Sakshi and professor of Oriental University of Naples, to give introductory remarks and welcome the Ambassador of India, Her Excellency Nina Malhotra. Please, Professor Filigensi.
Thank you so much. Namaskar. Welcome to everybody. And I have the pleasure and the honor to introduce somehow this wonderful initiative. I'm very honored to be here as a representative of the University of Naples L'Orientale, of the Department of Asia, Africa, and the Mediterranean, and in particular of the Center for South and South Asian Studies. This center reunites all members of the academic staff working in relevant fields, which means linguistics, philology, philosophy, archaeology, and art history. And we collaborate very closely with Sakshi, which is one of the souls of this center. And one of our primary aims of the center is to establish a connection between different disciplines and, moreover, to educate ourselves and our students to cross boundaries between disciplines and cultures, between theory and practice, and between past, present, and future of the cultures we study. Whatever the discipline we work in, Our common aim at the Orientale is to promote dialogue between different cultures, a dialogue based on mutual understanding and respect. Crossing boundaries also means to work and study with a perceptive and creative approach, always keeping in mind that no real collaboration can be established without knowledge, without wide-ranging curiosity, and without innovative thinking. This is why we cannot but praise this wonderful initiative, which brings together Indian and Italian designers in what we can call a friendly contest, whose protagonists are Indian textiles. Especially from my perspective, I am an archaeologist and art historian. Textile is not just fabric. It encompasses a long history of high-level handicraft, a variety of different traditions, of which India is extremely rich, artistic skills, as well as economic, social, and even political values. Indian textiles were famous and worldwide traded already in ancient times. I think everybody knows about the Silk Road, but probably less people know that in ancient times also a cotton road existed. And the expression cotton road was recently coined by a scholar who is presently based in America, but who was trained at the Orientale of Naples, Pia Brancaccio. And she used this expression to allude to the ancient commercial network centered on the distribution of cotton textiles produced, especially in Western Deccan, across the Indian Ocean. So Indian textiles were really very famous already in ancient times, and also in Indian visual arts, for instance, in Indian ancient paintings, which unfortunately are very less preserved. But they really attest to the richness and to the flourishing industry of splendid Indian textiles. So, you know, given these premises, I think that this project, Design India, really opens new possibilities to explore this Indian rich universe. I wish you to make of this initiative not only an interesting professional experience, but also a contribution, a conscious contribution towards innovating while preserving identities and towards sustainability and reuse, which is a need globally. And so I think that this project will certainly represent a very good initiative in this sense. I took already much of your time, I'm afraid, but I would like to stress that if we owe the draft concept of this initiative to the president of Sakshi, Mr. Vasshenoy, we would not be here today without the generous support and even creative involvement of Her Excellency, Dr. Nina Malhotra, Ambassador of India to Italy, who is not only a highest rank diplomat, but she's also a scientist with a first-hand experience in scholarly research. Today, I think she will be represented by the Deputy Ambassador, Her Excellency Mrs. Nikarika Singh. I leave the floor to you, Your Excellency, really with deep gratitude for the attention deserved to this initiative and with the wish that other similar initiatives will follow in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Anna. Thank you.
It looks like it's my turn now. So, namaskar, good afternoon, and buongiorno to all. This is Niharika. I am Deputy Chief of Mission here in this mission.
And it is a pleasure for me to be here to open the proceedings of today's webinar on Indian and Italian fashion. I am delighted that through staging the Festival of India in Italy, we are able to bring together the creators, designers, e-commerce strategists, and professors from eminent fashion schools of India and Italy to discuss the trend and possibility of cooperation in the field of fashion. The fashion industry is a global business of $1.3 trillion, which employs more than 300 million people worldwide and represent a significant economic force and substantial driver of global GDP. Despite the financial crisis of recent years, the fashion industry has attained fast growth and experienced vast transformations. Italy is well known worldwide for design and fashion, and for sure, India can be a huge, young, and receptive market. Though India is a nation with a prehistoric clothing design tradition, the fashion industry in India is young. The first professional fashion show took place in India in 1999, just over 20 years ago. However, for about 31 years, the National Institute of Fashion Technology, NIFT, represented today by Dr. Vandana Narang, has been nurturing and training generations of creative minds through its campuses set up all over the India. The international achievements and the invaluable experience of a NIFT alumni, Mr. Narendra Kumar, designer and fashion director of Amazon India, are explanatory. Today, there are over a couple of hundred Indian fashion designers who establish themselves producing their designs and opening wares. Some are well known and are expanding slowly but surely into the international market. Troy Costa, who is also today with us, is surely one of them. India's emerging fashion industry is a huge market. A large young population combined with increasing disposable incomes, which makes India an attractive land for international designers and fashion houses who want to establish themselves in a promising and challenging land. Many Italian brands are already loved in India, and I'm sure many more are looking to establish their presence in the country. In India, fashion is now considered a power statement, one of the dimensions of one's self-expression. It is consciousness that just by wearing or mix matching clothes differently, one can choose to be looked at differently. Fashion has become an expression of our unique identities. A famous quote by the Italian designer Gianni Versace runs, "Decide what you are, what you want to express by the way you dress and the way you live." I'm someone who takes extraordinary pleasure in wearing a sari. Though one can hate the cumbersome of dropping a sari, no one can deny the fact of how graceful it looks on a woman. Thanks to the fashion of sari today, in India, sari are the equivalent of power suits that are worn by women all across industries. World over, sari today personifies Indian women, and no wonder why our national leaders from Indira Gandhi, Sushma Swaraj, and so many more have embraced the sari. Likewise, today the use of khadi textile is not just looked at as an Indian costume, but has been exalted as a fashion trend and a style statement. We have to admit that the world is impressed by the sartorial elegance of our Prime Minister Modi ji. All Indian outfits are great, and every state has its unique appeal that leaves us spellbound. Our movies showcase the diversity and variety in our costumes, which earned their reputation worldwide. Be it hand-woven magic of Banarasi sari from Uttar Pradesh, or Kanjivaram silk from Tamil Nadu, or colorful designs depicted by Paithani of Maharashtra, Bandhani of Gujarat, a distinct Chanderi of Madhya Pradesh, or Munga silk of Assam, Odisha's Sambalpuri Ikat, and Telangana's Pochumpalli. All are uniquely beautiful in their different ways. These are few among the large and rich diversity that India has, and the need is to blend the modern creativity in these traditions for their larger acceptance in Western societies. Fashion designers today are reinventing sartorial archetypes along with aesthetic canons, values, and brand imaginaries. They are proposing new visions and meanings, experiencing new processes and approaches, putting social, political, and cultural issues into design's philosophy. In doing so, they reinvent heritage as modern design. In this creative path, our common search for beauty and ancient textile traditions are for sure a privileged starting point for several still unexplored possibilities of creative training and handicraft exchanges between our countries. To pave the way to these new encounters, I am eager to listen to the suggestions of today's speakers from Italy, Professor Cinzia Capalbo, President of the 3-year degree course in Fashion and Costume at Sapienza University, Professor Olivia Spinelli, Creative Coordinator and Director of IED, which has among its partner universities and various Indian fashion institutes, and Italian designer Celeste Pisanti and Antonino Cedro. I would like to thank Sakshi for coordinating the event and extend my appreciation to moderators Mark Robinson and Vash Shunai for their efforts. I see many participants to this webinar, which is very reassuring, and I hope today's dialogue under the auspices of our festival season, which means creation, will become an important establishing stone to build and carry forward India-Italy cooperation in the fashion sector, the starting point for a noble or originative and creative creation of linkages, exchanges, and beauty. Thanks a lot. Namaskar.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you so much, Dr. Singh. Thank you so much. And we would really like to thank the Embassy for its support of the event, as well as the contest that we are planning to announce quite shortly. Thank you very much. Thank you. Mark, if you'd like to take the mic.
Sure. Thank you, Vas, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Your Excellency Niharika Singh, for that enlightened talk. Learned a lot. Every day we keep learning. It's been a great initiative, Vas, for putting this together. And we look forward to some easy, smooth, and educative conversation this afternoon. To start with, I'd like you to meet one of my old friends who I've known since 1995. She is currently the Dean Academics at NIFT and also the campus director. She has a huge scope of work behind her, and I'm sure also yet to be achieved. I'd like you to meet the Dean Academics of the National Institute of Fashion Technology, Dr. Vandana Narang. Doctor.
Dr. I was muted. Thank you for a wonderful introduction, Your Excellency, about NIFT and our alumni. We are very, very proud of our alumni, and thank you, Mark. Yes, it's been a very long time since we have known each other. Mark has just been very kind in introducing me as having a lot of work, but it's the institute which I represent has done fabulous work for this country and for fashion industry in India. NIFT started in 1986. Nari is one of our first batch of alumni from Fashion Design Department. And I would let him to talk more about what alumni has done. But today NIFT is there in 17 campuses across the country. We have 10 courses. We have 7 bachelor's programs, out of which 6 are design programs. 1 is fashion technology program. And we have 3 master's programs in design, management, and technology. We also do run doctoral studies. NIFT started as a single campus from New Delhi with 1 single program of 22 students. Today we have over 12,000 students We are one of the unique institutes in fashion world where people come through a very strict entrance exam of 3 layers and people get into it. 70% of all managerial positions in fashion industry are manned by Niftians. We have a great alumni network. We can go on and on about who our alumni are, and they actually define what fashion is about in India. Thank you for having me here, and it would be a pleasure to meet each one of you. And I'm very sure we'll have an enlightening and interesting discussion. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Appreciate it.
Mark, thank you very much, Doctor. We will now, I'd like to now introduce our professors from La Sapienza University, Rome. First, we have Professor Romana Andò, who is the Associate Professor of Sociology and the President of the Master's Course in Fashion in English. It's a fashion studies course, and it's had an exceptional reception from students. So without much ado, Professor Andò.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to, first of all, to thank the organizer of this meeting, which represents a milestone in building a strong cooperation between India and Italy in the field of fashion and of Made in. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to welcome you as Deputy Director of the Department of History, Anthropology, Religions, Art History, and Performing Arts. It is a very big department made of near 100 scholars with a strong focus on interdisciplinarity, and this was the starting point for the creation of our programs in fashion. So let me start by saying just a few words about the story of fashion education at Sapienza that started in 1999 under the Bologna process and its intent to create a European higher education area. At the beginning of the new millennium, as a matter of fact, we conducted an exploratory research on the situation of the educational training in the field of fashion in Italy. And we discovered that in the south and in the center of Italy, there are many institutions, academies, private school, and also specialization and professional courses, but there is a lack of courses, academic curricula that can help students in obtaining a full degree and a set of competencies and skills and theoretical knowledge that could address the whole field of fashion. So the first step was the creation of a bachelor program in fashion and costume studies, and my colleague Cinzia Capalbo is the head of the program, and I will leave soon the floor to her to present it. The strong investment made by Sapienza in this new academic field, it was considered new because, as you know, in fashion studies in Italy is not so well perceived as in other international field of study. So we had many other educational programs, from a master program in fashion fashion and costume studies to a professional master program in fashion studies, so 1-year program, to the last goal we reached was the creation in 2016 in Sapienza of a Master of Art program in fashion studies aimed at international students, which is completely taught in English. And from 2018, I have the honor to be the head of this program. So this latest initiative, which is now in its 5th year since its activation, is having an extraordinary international success with students from all over the world. We have more than 85% of international students engaged in the program, and they come from different backgrounds. I mean, in terms of also in terms of kind of cultural background, different kind of bachelor programs, and of course also different country, which is really productive opportunity for the master program in order to create a strong collaboration, an exchange of knowledge, competencies, and also different values and opportunities to develop challenging projects and teamwork. We have also many students from India, and their strong background in textiles are really, really useful when it comes to projects, teamwork, and activities that we are going to develop, especially in the field of sustainability. One of the goals of the program is to create classes with the students with background in humanities, economics, media, textile, design, architecture, and fine art. This is a way to try to stimulate an interdisciplinary approach and to merge different competencies, and to, of course, also to provide students with opportunities of dialogue. What is important is also the collaboration with the industry, with the Italian industry, of course. So we have many teachers in our program with hand-on and original teaching materials and methods, and we try also to maintain this constant dialogue with the field of fashion, the system of fashion in Italy in particular. So starting from these premises, I would like to emphasize how important it is within this scenario starting a collaboration between India and Italy, especially looking at the new challenges in the field of fashion. I mean, in particular, the one of sustainability. So a strong cooperation is needed. And again, as we already know, in the past few years, we have witnessed an increasing transformation in the field of fashion, mainly, but not only due to digital transformation. And in the last 2 years, of course, we had also to face with the COVID pandemic, which ask us to find a new solution, to find a new creative approach to the fashion system, and of course not only the fashion system. So the idea is to create this dialogue with you, to foster creative and critical thinking and making, in order to address these new challenges that are, of course, that act, of course, on a global level. So thank you again for this extraordinary opportunity of encounter and dialogue. Thank you all, and I leave the floor to my colleague, Professor Cinzia Capalbo, will present our bachelor program.
Thank you so much, Professor Ando. Now I'd like to request Professor Cinzia Capalbo, who is not only the president of the 3-year degree program, but also is the professor of economic history. And Professor Capalbo has been a great supporter of this initiative. So
thank you. You see me?
No, your video is off. So
okay. Just a moment. Just a moment. Okay. It is work, but you listen me. Okay, excuse me.
Sì, la sentiamo, però non la vediamo, quindi.
Okay. I don't know, just a moment. Come si può fare qua? And now?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon to all our guests. First of all, I would like to thank and to extend my respectful greetings also on behalf of Sapienza University of Rome to the Indian Deputy Ambassador in Italy, Her Excellency Dr. Nina Arika Singh. It's an honor for us to have her in this meeting. I would like to thank Indian and Italian friends. Special thanks to Dr. Vas Shenoy, President of the Sakshi Association, who organized this meeting, and I welcome all Indian and Italian students. India, which this year celebrates the 75th anniversary of its independence, has many points in common with Italy, despite their different social, economic, and cultural histories. The millennial commercial relations guaranteed in the past, we know by the maritime routes and the Silk Road, the ancient textile and craft traditions that have made the two countries excel in textile and clothing sector. Today, we know Italy is India's fifth largest trading partner. For this reason, economic operators, entrepreneurs, and economic and commercial institutions and government agencies are making further efforts to ensure that this mutual exchange and relationship remains stable over time and can be increased to the benefit of both countries. Nowadays, India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Suffice it to remember that India's gross domestic product from 1999 to 2020 grew at an average rate over 6%, and in some years it reached 8%. It is very important. Economic forecast also says that the country has great development opportunities for its exports and an advantage in terms of competitiveness, which make it attractive for foreign investment and technological collaborations. And for Italy, a country historically poor in raw materials, India represents an important reference for the fashion sector. In fact, in addition to basic chemicals, automotive components, etc., India exports many product categories in the fashion field to Italy: leather goods, gems and jewelry, textile and clothing products. It's known that the Indian textile industry has a very ancient tradition and a worldwide fame that dates back thousands of years, has been already said. In fact, Indian fabrics are exported to almost all countries of the 5 continents. This sector represents over a 15% of the Indian industrial production, about 4% of the gross domestic product, and 10% of export revenues. Over 50 million people are employed in it. Production is diversified and ranges from industrial production to small artisan businesses. Cotton and silk are we know are the largest exported product in the sector. I would like to remind the beauty and the importance of Khadi fabric. On the other hand, the main products exported to India from Italy mainly concern the mechanical sector, such as machinery for the textile industry, vehicle parts, fashion and design, etc. All sectors in which Italy has, by tradition, you know, international renowned competence and competitiveness. I want to remember that the trade exchange between the two countries reached 9.1 billion euros in 2019. To strengthen the relationship between the two countries last year, despite the pandemic, the first edition of the high-level dialogue on Italy-India economic relations was held online. Today. The meeting was attended by the most important Italian and Indian companies operating in various economic sectors. The meeting was promoted by the India-Italy Association for Cooperation between the two countries in collaboration with the Confindustria for Italy and Confederation of Indian with the support of both the Italian and the Indian embassies. Also last year, an additional meeting took place online between the Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte and the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. On that occasion, 15 strategic agreements were signed in several economic sectors. The meeting consolidated bilateral cooperation based on concrete projects. In addition to the economic field, important initiatives have been launched in the field of scientific research, protection of cultural heritage, and cooperation in the industrial research sector. Finally, there is a sector that unites the histories and economics of the two countries, the culture and tradition of craftsmanship, in the field of textiles, clothing and accessories, which represent a competitive advantage on a global level for both. Therefore, the field of fashion represents a further field of cultural and commercial exchange between Italy and India. Everything suggests that relations between the two countries will be reinforced. Therefore, in the near future, it becomes important to undertake initiatives for academic collaborations and cultural exchange between the educational institutions of two countries. For this reason, cooperation between the fashion degree courses of Sapienza and the National Institute of Fashion and Technology in New Delhi represents an important meeting point. I hope that today's webinar may represent a starting point for future collaborations, both in terms of research and training, but also a way to guarantee Italian and Indian students the cultural openness which must be the basis for me for their educational advance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Capalvo. Thank you for your support and thank you for your speech. Mark, coming back to our discussion. You've seen this industry from all sides. I mean, you kind of signified, you kind of are the poster boy for the Indian fashion industry, having started off as a supermodel during its nascent stage, and today you are one of the veterans of the industry. Not to say that, you're still very young. So tell us about your evolution, and please tell us about your experience in the industry, and how is it that you started working with young talent?
Thank you, Wes. It's been a long journey for all of us who sort of had this desire to be part of the fashion industry way back in the late 80s or the early 90s, when it was considered taboo to be a fashion model. But that's what I wanted to be. As a young kid, I would always immerse myself for looking at different fashion magazines, very few that we had at that point in time. And I was always drawn to that kind of freshness, that kind of personalities that were bigger than life and larger than life. So way back in the 90s, I started my career as a model, and that's when I met a lot of top Indian designers who are today, doing extremely well, including one of our panelists, who's a dear friend of mine, Narendra Kumar. So we shot together while he was still a student at NIST. We did many campaigns together, and I, in time, went on to work on television, work in Bollywood, and do a lot of fashion shows, launched various brands that came into India, and was having a great time. But throughout my journey as a fashion choreographer, I got to meet and encounter a lot of young talent, young Gen X designers who were struggling, young wannabe models who were struggling to get a break into the industry. So that's when I thought in about 2012, 2013 that, I need to give back to the industry, and let me start looking and helping new talent, boys and girls who had a hard time getting a break into the industry. And that's when I started something for new designers from fashion institutes. I started working with young talent and trying to get them a break in the fashion industry in terms of models, and young actors who wanted to work in the film and television industry in India. So yeah, it's been a great journey. That's what I've been doing for the last 6-7 years, finding new talent across India, small towns, small cities, where boys and girls have huge aspirations. They love fashion, they love the industry, and they want to get a break, be it in terms of fashion designers, fashion models, or television stars, or Bollywood stars. And I have a small video, I think, if you can just play that, it'll sort of show you the work I've done in the space of finding our Gen Next designers from fashion institutes.
Just sharing it now.
We are at the grand finale for Max Design Awards 2017-18, and the excitement levels are really high at NIFT, New Delhi.
The quality of the designers today was way better than the last time I experienced it. Max Design Awards as a platform is growing, and people are taking it more seriously, which was very good to know. And the fact that there was a lot of talent that we saw on the ramp.
These kind of platforms, they benefit everybody. If we don't have this competition, how do we discover new talent? Last year's winner, Tushar Kumar Jha, is right now working at our studio. So it is really, really essential to spot young talent. And ultimately, future fashion lies in young brains.
We all had seen the sketches, but none of us were prepared to see the actual garments. And, we were stunned by the quality and the way the garments were hanging, the way the fabric was, played with. It was exceptional.
Through this Max Design Award, designers can leapfrog their careers. They can launch their own boutiques. They can work with fashion.
Yeah, there we go, Matt. We unfortunately didn't see the end of that, but I think the video was inspiring enough, so I'll let you continue.
Yeah, so we've been doing that for about 5-7 years, and we've had so many students who've taken part in that, and today are working with a lot of top designers and top fashion houses. Talking about top designers, I'd like you to meet a dear friend of mine who I've known for the last 35 years. Today, he's a pioneer in the field that he works with. A dear friend, Narendra Kumar. He has an illustrious career. Nari, as we called him, was working as an assistant in one of my earlier shoots when I first met him in 1991, I think. A great sense of humor, very creative. He's extremely talented. He's India's first fashion editor for Elle magazine. Hey, Nari, good to see you. What? Esquire US 50 best stores in India, men's. He conceptualized Fashion Week way back. And let me tell you, Nari had the vision 20 years ago to talk about Gen Next when nobody even thought about Gen Next. So if we have a Gen Next space in India Fashion Week, in Lakme Fashion Week, it's thanks to our man, Nari, and the late Wendell Rodrigues. These two guys were pioneers in fighting for Gen Next and for promoting new talent. Apart from that, Nari has launched Amazon Fashion in India as a creative director. And he's also launched his new brand, FKS, Fake News, in 2017. Nari, it's been a great journey. Thank you for being here. And I haven't said enough. I can go on, but kindly say something and about what you feel, where we are headed with the pandemic and e-commerce and stuff like that.
Hey, Mark, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And thank you, Sakshi and Sapenza, for having me on this conversation. Always interesting to look at how, you know, when I look at my design career, I look at it in the form of social anthropology, really about how, you know, like unlike many other designers who are inspired by the Taj Mahal and the beauty of this place and another place, for me, inspiration was about how this country has changed post its economic liberalization. And every day until today, all our shows and stories are about really the change that we are going through, both socially, politically, and kind of stuff. And our stories have been, you know, talked about in newspapers across the globe on how they respond to the changing environment in our country. You know? And I believe that as a designer, and it's important that one captures the zeitgeist, the spirit of the times. And this is exactly what we did, you know, when Fashion Week started, my first job as a fashion editor to create the idea of Fashion Week. And then when it split into two different fashion weeks, the idea, the zeitgeist of that moment was the journalists were young, the writers were young, the TV audience was young, and people wanted to see a young generation come out and succeed instead of designers who have been there for the last 25, 30 years. And that's how we conceptualize the Next Gen show. You know, I believe today that moment of zeitgeist is again on us, because there is the Gen Z out there, a millennial that thinks very differently, circumstances are very different. And I would believe that COVID has hastened the process of discovering the new. The idea of being young has, you know, moved across every generation today. Everyone wants to dress young. And the brands that are doing well are fueled today by social media kind of stuff, and which is the platform for the young people. And I think that what I missed was, you know, in the earlier part, Mark, of our career was, we saw a lot of Italian brands. There were lots of Italian brands coming. And I remember, you know, one of the things that I did, and you had Rahul Mishra speaking, I was one of the judges who chose him to go to Marangoni on a scholarship to study, you know, and open up that kind of stuff. And then the Italian Trade Commission in India had a lot of fashion association coming up. I missed that over the last many years now. And I think that both Italy and India have a lot to offer each other in many different respects, you know, whether it is the craft of tailoring, which I believe was one of the most important reasons I became a designer, because I couldn't get a proper tailored suit. And that's, my best moment was when Esquire in the US listed us as one amongst the 50 best men's designers in the world, in 2013. So tailoring is a real deep aspect that we know that we've not been able to marry with the craftsmanship of textile in India. Our tradition has been a sari, and the cloth has been just about a wrap around the body, and every sari tells a million stories. And I think that the country today, as at a cusp with sustainability, environmental issues that are really social responsibility, all up there, we have a million different stories to tell from each of those million different weavers. And the opportunity to cross-pollinate that between what we learned from traditional fashion industry in Italy and craftsmanship in India is a great time to bring that across with the help of the young and the new generation. So I believe that we are at a cusp of a great new story, just as we were 20 years ago. And there's a story to be told, and we must grab it with every hand possible to make this big. And I look forward to this conversation. Thank you again for having me here.
Thank you, Nari.
Nari, if I might, Mark and I were doing some background conversations while we were organizing this thing, and he mentioned something. There were two very important points that struck me. And my experience of the fashion world is I know how famous Mark is in India, but that's
right.
So
everybody knows how famous Mark is in India.
So, I believe that he changed the dynamic of fashion in 1991 with the Kama Sutra ad and how the world looked at fashion in India. So, I see him as a social revolutionary more than just a fashion entrepreneur. But, he mentioned something about sustainability and sustainable fabrics. And I think that is, I come from the business of renewable energy, and sustainability and sustainable fabric is something that's very important for everybody today. So could you tell us a little more about the work that you've been doing with sustainable fabrics?
So, people in India have been doing, a lot of designers have been doing sustainable clothes. And the idea is and they're all priced at 20,000, 15,000 and 20,000 for an outfit. You buy sustainable clothes, you wear it 4 times a year. How does that help? Really? I mean, sustainability means that you make a difference every day in your life. And in 2019, I had an opportunity to create the first sportswear brand, which has all the technology that any major brand in the world would give you: dry tech, anti-odor, anti-static, all of that, into a brand called Alcis Nari. It was one of the first sportswear brand and priced at something like one could really buy and use every day, because everybody goes to the gym or goes to the cafe, and something like that would affect how one lives, how one can live the sustainable world every day of your life, rather than on some 3 or 4 occasions in the year. And I think sustainability is really all about that. And that's where the idea came from. That's how we built the brand. But there is a different side to this story. The story that in India, people do not really understand or value the concept of sustainability, are not willing to pay the price unless it is little fashion for an occasion wear kind of stuff. And that is largely due to the fact that a large part of India is still putting food on their table. And to prioritize sustainability over food becomes a really difficult issue. Globally, this has changed. And, Greta is doing such a great job. Lots of other institutions are doing great jobs around it. And I think it's much larger outside than in India. And in India, sustainability means our heritage is sustainability. When it comes from all these weavers, all these textile people in small cities. And like I said earlier, there are a million stories to be told. And this next generation is about stories. And therein lies the large opportunity to doing something together with the with the craftsmanship, knowledge, technical knowledge the Italians have, and brand building capabilities that the Italians have, that we could bring together as a marriage of the best.
Vas?
Yep.
Vas, I think in 2019 or 2018, I was lucky to actually see Nari's collection, what he's talking about. He did that at a beautiful showing, I think at one of the fashion weeks. I think I sent you that, a brief clip of that. Could you play that, please? Yeah.
I will. Hang on.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about. Wait!
There's a drum corner where the big boys play, where the whiskey's running like the river, but they all never come for the booze and face. I'm the one on the lady that'll rock this place, that'll rock this place, that'll rock this place, rock this place, rock this place, rock this
Hey, thank you for playing that.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Bas, for playing that.
Brilliant.
And you know, in a story coming out of India, nobody expects something like this. You know, the print ideas were textile prints of India, ikats and stories like that. So these are ways that you can adapt to the modern world. There are different ways that one can do it. One can do it with regional textiles. One can do it with modern textiles. And both can be sustainable and socially responsible.
Vas?
Yeah.
You know, when Nari was talking about menswear and the perfect suit, that brings to mind one of our next panelists who we have, an extremely gifted menswear designer, a dear friend of mine who has also today been at the top of his game, having designed for almost every top Bollywood star in India, every top cricketer in India, and every top fashion icon and powerhouse from the corporate sector in India. A gifted designer who started Dubai Fashion Week with me in early 2005, 2006. He's a guy who's in love with Italy, who travels there a lot, goes to Naples, goes to Milan, does a lot of his sourcing out there. I can go on and on about Troy Costa, who is also a Bandra boy from Mumbai, and my dear friend and very talented. Every young guy who wants to get married today must wear Troy Costa. His designs are impeccable. And let me tell you, Troy is one of the few designers who I know who actually cuts his own cloth. I've been to a studio many a time, and I've actually in awe watched him with his master cut fabric. And that is really inspiring. Troy, where are you?
Troy, you're on mute.
Firstly, namaste to and buongiorno to all.
Hey, Troy.
Thank you, Mark, for that fantastic introduction. I don't think I deserve it, but thank you all the same. Italy is my favorite destination. I travel there thrice a year for the last few years. I've been doing a lot of work. I've been making my shoes in Naples with a company called RAF. I work in the Biella area for wool and Como for silk. And so it's very inspiring. I just love what all Italy has to offer. Being an absolutely fanatic about high quality, I just love Italy because of their, pessimism about the finest detail and how beautifully they want to make their clothes. And growing up in Bandra, being a tailor, just wanting to make beautiful clothes, and that dream, has come through in the last 10, 12 years. I've been able to make a garment as beautifully as the one I see when I'm traveling in Italy. Italy is known for its construction, and the interlinings and all the fabrics that come from Italy makes a beautiful suit. And if you don't have that kind of construction, then you can't make a bespoke suit like it is made in Italy. So I'm very fortunate to being a part of that place, and constantly being able to visit the factories and learn and keep learning.
Vas, most of the fabric that I have seen in Troy's studio, if not most, practically everything is from Italy. I love fabrics. I visit his studio pretty often, and I love his aesthetics, his eye for detail. And whenever I pick up something good, I have many a Troy Costa suit and many a Narendra Kumar suit, let me tell you that. His fabric is all from Italy, and it's fabulous, and whenever I wear them, which is pretty often, people always ask me, oh, where did you get that from? Where in Italy? And I said, this is made in India by Troy Costa with a lot of Italian fabric and with that eye for detail. Thanks, Troy, for being here. We'll look forward to an engaging discussion. Vas, over to you.
Troy, Mark tells me you've come to Italy very often, and from what I understand, you're as passionate about this country as I am. So, and I've lived here most of my life. So, my question to you, as somebody who does not come from the fashion world, how do you see specifically? We have here around 500 odd attendees, of which a large chunk are aspiring designers who are studying either at La Sapienza or at the European Institute of Design or in India at NIFT. How do you see these two countries, which I know, on an instinctual level, I know that these two countries are made for each other when it comes to creativeness, etc. But on a practical level, how would you advise these young aspiring designers to take advantage of the best of both worlds?
Firstly, I would say that it is absolutely true when you say Italy and India are completely made for each other, right? Just like Italy has beautiful craftsmanship, India has beautiful textile, right? So obviously there can be a marriage of both worlds. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. So we need to use the skill of tailoring that Italy has, the craftsmanship with things like leather, and try and combine it with India has a huge array of different fabrics, and all in its natural form. Going forward, we're going to talk about everything being in its organic form, and India has a huge heritage of that kind of fabric with different weaves from different parts of every state of India. We have more than 50 states of India, and each producing a different kind of fabric. I would though like to tell the younger students that it is really important to learn pattern making going forward. With the shortage of tailors worldwide, one will have to know how to cut its own cloth. How are we going to produce the kind of collections that we would want to if we don't understand pattern making? I spend a lot of time with students. I engage a lot of my time, guiding students over the last 10 years. And I see that people are interested in design. Nobody's interested in the pattern. But going forward, as the world finds a shortage amount of tailors and pattern makers, if we don't know to cut our own pattern, how are we going to create and design collections, right? So the students need to be told that to invest time and learn patterns. I keep lecturing, to all students to keep learning and expertising on patterns. That's, I think, is the key going forward.
Perfect, Troy. Thank you so much. And go on, Mark. Sorry.
Beth, when Troy just provoked a thought and a memory that Dr. Vandana Narang, in her PhD, her research, I think, doctor, and correct me if I'm wrong, was in pattern making for menswear. Am I right or wrong, doctor?
Sorry, Mark, I missed it. There was a bad connection. Can you repeat your question?
Can you hear me now, Doctor?
Yeah, I can now hear you. Tell me.
Troy was talking about the importance of pattern making and was encouraging young designers, students to study that. And he provoked the thought, and he sort of made me remember that your PhD, your research was in pattern design for menswear. Am I right or wrong?
You're absolutely right, Mark. Yes, I have done my PhD in pattern development for menswear. And one of my teachers for menswear pattern making was an Italian teacher at FIT New York when I had gone there in '96. And that inspired me to work on menswear. I also totally agree with you when you said it's a pleasure to see someone cut patterns and the fabric themselves, because most of the designers, you assume that they are sketching it out and not cutting the pattern themselves. But yes, I am a pattern maker.
Great, and fabulous, because I remember your journey and seeing you in 1995 as a professor. That time we were launching NIFs all over the country. You played an active part in that. I was modeling at that point in time for a lot of designers, many of those who are from NIFT and today at the top end of their game. And your journey has been just fab. And I need to thank you at this platform for giving me the opportunity to fulfill my dream with working with Gen Next designers. You and NIFT New Delhi have been really helpful, along with the other fashion design institutes in the country, in sort of propelling and acting as a catalyst to place young, talented designers and get them work in the industry and also get scholarships abroad. I think Vas will talk about that in a little while.
I think Professor Firigensi would like to add something. I'm sorry, I just saw her message. So Anna, you're on mute, so you need to unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. I would like to just add something to what Narendra Kumar said, because he touched upon a very critical point, because we are speaking about sustainability, and we must be conscious that the concept of sustainability risks to remain confined within a kind of intellectual circle, because sustainability is not economic. I mean, very often non-sustainable products are much cheaper and more competitive than sustainable products. So it's really a kind of fight, that peaceful fight that we have to engage, but with the consciousness that we have to work also on the economic system, a global economic system. Because, for instance, in India, acrylic colors are now used even for restoration of ancient paintings, or for the big statues that are thrown in water after festivals, for instance. And this is this means pollution and also destruction of the cultural heritage. We have the same problem also in the Western countries, for that matter. So we have to fight for something different. Sustainable must become also economically rewarding. Until this doesn't happen, so I'm afraid that sustainability will be a luxury thinking. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. That said, I would like to pull in a young Italian designer, Celeste Pisenti, who used to work with Blue Marine once upon a time. And she was telling me during our call on how she's had some experience bringing in Indian designs and Indian embroidery into Italian design. Celeste also has worked with a couple of Indian personalities. So I'd ask Celeste to say a few words about her experience with India, and then I'd like to compare that with Troy's experience with Italy. So if we may.
Grazie Vas, ti ringrazio moltissimo per avermi invitato a questo dialogo. Infatti i big player e i fondi si sono già messi in prima linea per investire in India tempo fa, quindi io preferisco raccontare la mia esperienza dal mio punto di vista personale come designer, perché ho lavorato diversi anni per le aziende, sono stata art director di Blue Marine dal 2000 al 2008 e lì ho avuto il mio primo contratto con le produzioni indiane. Infatti collaboravamo con Yato. Yato è un'azienda, una tra le più importanti nel panorama per la produzione in India di ricami, e fanno anche modellistica a taglio e grazie a Yato appunto sono stata in stretto contatto con queste vostre produzioni indiane. Perché i brand del lusso producono in India? Sicuramente per la mancanza dell'industrializzazione del ricamo manuale nel nostro paese, certamente i prezzi sono molto competitivi e poi c'è una vastissima tecnica di offerte di ricamo che a noi manca. E oltre al ricamo sono presenti in India anche tantissime aziende di modellistica, taglio, confezione, controllo qualità con un management italiano. Quello che piacerebbe a me come designer sarebbe creare un contenitore, non lo chiamo fiera perché non mi piace molto il termine, ma un contenitore basato in Italia che possa essere uno scambio a 360 gradi tra i designer e i produttori indiani. Mi piacerebbe che partecipassero non soltanto i brand, ma anche i fondi, investitori, i buyer dei multi-brand più importanti del lusso in India e che sia allo stesso tempo una cosa che non c'è adesso, appunto un contenitore dove sì si presentano i brand che hanno già un mercato, un posizionamento in Occidente, ma anche tutti i settori della produzione indiana. Perché l'India non...
Un attimo, così faccio un breve riassunto di quello che hai detto, così seguono anche gli altri. Perdona, il traduzione simultanea purtroppo abbiamo avuto un po' di problemi tecnici. I'm sorry about that. We've had some initial problems with online translation with Zoom, so we got the English to Italian working this morning, but Italian to English is a slight challenge. So just to summarize what she said. She's had a lot of experience working with pieces made out of India and then being integrated into Italian design. However, she believes that there needs to be, more collaboration, not just with the big brands and the multi-brands, but also on the smaller designer level between both the countries, because India is, of course, a great market for embroidery, for a lot of things that Italy could also benefit from. But there is this bilateral cooperation doesn't seem to be working as efficiently as it should be. Perdonami se ho perso qualcosa, ma ho cercato di sommario quanto possibile. I'm sorry if I've not been very accurate, but I've tried to summarize it as much as I could.
Per noi giovani designer, diciamo siamo proiettati verso il vostro paese sicuramente per la crescita del consumatore medio-alto che è in continua espansione, per lo sviluppo dei settori manufatturieri e per l'avanzamento delle tecnologie e appunto della sostenibilità, come mi hanno preceduto prima gli altri relatori. La mia storia è nata 20 anni fa nella moda e ho sempre lavorato come consulente per i brand di lusso fin tanto che ho creato la mia realtà nel 2017. Abbiamo avuto una bellissima crescita e il nostro mercato è principalmente in Italia. Adesso saremo pronti per il mercato estero e sarebbe molto interessante per noi partecipare appunto a questo grande contenitore dove poter conoscere tutte le realtà manifatturiere indiane.
She has been working in fashion since the past 20 years. She has worked with some of the larger brands in Italy, as well as now since 2017, she has her own reality, her own brand. And she really looks forward to this kind of collaboration because she believes that the smaller designers also require some kind of a joint platform in order to approach the Indian market. And I think this is something, Troy, I'd love for you to address, because you are a designer, you work in the Indian market, but you could as well sell your stuff here. I mean, it's international now.
Yeah, absolutely, Vas. See, India is known for its embroideries, right? And by that, we could assist Italy, with embroideries, right? Younger designers needing to make capsule collections or newer collections going forward, need the assistance of India, correct? Likewise, Indian designers going forward making capsule collections need the assistance of factories based in Milan or any part of Italy with respect to the wool, the silk. As a menswear designer, it is but obvious that the garment has to be made in Italy, right? So how do younger talent, how do they process a collection if they're going to not be able to communicate with factories about smaller orders, about smaller transactions? So there has to be a larger communication between India and Italy in respect of this, this kind of a association. There has to be some kind of mediation at a government level where the two countries can interact much more, assisting younger talent going forward. We're having so many colleges bringing out so many students every year, but how many of them are actually going forward? We had stop gaps growing when we started our business, so did Celeste. But I feel that the world being a commonplace now and India and Italy being so close to one another, we should be able to come closer with respect to our crafts, tailoring, and merge the two things.
Exactly. No, I know you have a lot of fantastic product in India. I know it's not just embroidery, but it's also a product of cotton, silk. And I remember I worked with a very, very important company in New Delhi. It was Yato. I don't know if you maybe know. In Yato was a very, very big company, and they produced for all the luxury fashion brands. But the collaboration is at the base of our enthusiastic work. And also, I'm so jealous about your Holy Festival. Your Holy Festival in every part of the world.
Of course, sure, why not?
Thank you so much, Celeste. We have, you brought up, Troy, this question of, training and education. And we have with us here the creative director of the European Institute of Design, Professor Olivia Spinelli, who would actually, speak about what it is to be a designer today in Italy, especially a young designer today in Italy.
Absolutely.
So, Olivia, I think we have the simultaneous translation from Italian to English also on. You might want to select the interpretation and just select English, and you should be able to hear a simultaneous translation as well. Olivia, please.
Thank you, Vas. Good afternoon to everybody. Buongiorno. So I can speak Italian.
Yes.
I can mix from Italy to English.
Yes.
Ok.
You translate.
Ok, thank you. Bene, io ho un lavoro difficilissimo da fare perché ho la responsabilità di crescere le nuove generazioni, i nuovi talenti. E parlo di responsabilità perché è un termine che adesso trovo molto vicino a sostenibilità. Cioè sostenibilità vuol dire prendersi delle responsabilità, sapere quello che si fa da tutti i punti di vista. E per cui ci vuole molta attenzione, molta cura, moltissimo coraggio, e molte volte mi rendo conto che il coraggio che io cerco di trasmettere ai nuovi designer, ai talenti, molte volte arriva da loro, e sono loro che chiedono delle cose, sono loro che pretendono di imparare delle cose, o sono loro che insegnano delle cose nuove. Io sono una grandissima fan delle nuove generazioni, dei giovani. Sono sì il coordinatore di Edmo da Milano, ma sono anche un teacher, e questa è la cosa più interessante in assoluto, perché ho un contatto diretto con gli studenti, quindi io parlo con loro e soprattutto loro parlano con me, che è la cosa più interessante, perché ogni giorno imparo delle cose nuovissime. Quindi l'idea di collaborare tra Italia e India, tra il Made in Italy e il Made in India, per me è una cosa interessantissima, lo sarà sicuramente anche per gli studenti, perché vuol dire iniziare a confrontarsi, a mettere a confronto due mondi che comunque non sono lontani, anzi sono molto 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 vicini, quindi tutta la parte della manifattura, quello che diceva Troy è giustissimo, cioè bisogna conoscere entrambi i territori e rispettare entrambi i territori, quindi quello che si produce in Italia, quello che si produce in India, si parla sempre di prodotti di altissimo valore e di grandissima qualità. E questo è interessante che lo si scopra facendo, lavorando. Anch'io sono una grande sostenitrice del pattern making e sono una grande sostenitrice del fare le cose, perché si impara le cose quando si fanno. Quindi io ringrazio Vas per averci coinvolto, per aver coinvolto lo IED in questa collaborazione, in questo dialogo e trovo che ci sarà un percorso da fare insieme estremamente interessante. Scopriremo delle cose incredibili da parte del Made in Italy e Made in India scoprirà altre cose sul Made in Italy e trovo importante che ci sia uno scambio diretto tra gli studenti perché probabilmente verrà fuori una terza Made in, che non è né Made in Italy né Made in India, sarà una terza versione che sicuramente non avrà né confini, sarà internazionale, sarà molto giovane perché saranno i giovani a farlo, probabilmente saranno loro a pensare qual è il loro mercato di riferimento e noi staremo lì a guardare sostanzialmente, ma è la cosa che a me piace di più perché penso che in questa fase sia interessante captare delle cose e poi restituirle magari a chi non le vede perché le sta facendo o le sta vivendo in quel momento. Quindi grazie.
Thank you so much. Troy, would you like to address some of the points that came up?
Yeah, there are a few things. The Italian government started something called I Want to Be a Tailor. They took refugees that came across the border and started tailoring programs and taught them. So, we have to start things like this where we can, increase the number of tailors, pattern makers, things like this going forward so that we are able to support the vast number of students that are coming out as designers. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We have huge numbers today of people coming out of design colleges, but the support staff is dwindling. You know what I mean? And I wish at some point we also able to translate the skill from the old guard to a new guard in some way, in the sense teach the newer generation some of the skill that is present right now in Italy so that this continues from our generation to the next.
Perfect.
Vas, can I add something?
Just hold on, Larry. Let me just put a pin so that I can get your video on screen. Just hold on. Yeah. Yes, please. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So, what Troy said was about, training. What is the backbone of how Italian fashion became so big over the last 30 years, ever since Pret-a-Porter was because they had factories that were dedicated to making clothes for different designers. In India, we don't have that infrastructure, number one. And that is a big, big lacuna in the Indian market and why Indian design has not grown. Number two, design in India has not even grown because of the other story of retail. No stores, there are one or two stores in this country that buy from young designers. You are expected to invest, send it out there, put it on consignment, and when it comes back after 6 months, if it's not sold, it's on to you kind of stuff. So that is the second problem. The third problem is really pattern making, and just like in Europe, more and more people as they rise up in society give up these smaller jobs. India has a large kind of pool of people who are still rising. For the next few years, we can still have this kind of associated program. There's ATTC that does this. There's NIFT that is doing some of this. Those are things of how do you bring technology that has built Italy as a brand in fashion to India and marry that with both labor as well as craftsmanship, and that is the real big opportunity for a joint Indo-Italian workspace.
Thank you so much, Nari. Mark, would you like to add something in this discussion?
No, actually, a couple of questions that I had in mind for Troy and for Nari, I think they've already explained them. The key being that made in Italy is being the essence of menswear. Why are there no Indian brands or no design products in Italy? Troy?
I defer that because I produce a lot of things in Italy. I make my shoes in Naples and Napoli with a company called RAF. I work with Brunello in Milan and Ravagnotti for the interlinings and all of that. The thing is that, Italy has all of this skilled labor, obviously, but it's a very niche. Like Nari said, as younger designers, we don't have that kind of backing it financially for every designer to go and produce in Italy. Italy is not very forward when it comes to working with smaller patches of clothing or orders, or they want larger quantities, larger numbers, larger. So we have to somewhere create a Indian-Italian collaboration where we are able to work with smaller numbers for the betterment of fashion. So that fashion grows. Otherwise, it's still restricted in that space. I know Italy wants to do a lot. Italy has the ability, but I think there has to be somebody on the inroad to able to maneuver this, to kind of jointly collaborate. India has a large extensive labor that could be recruited to Italy. They could be trained and they could be asked to work in Italian factories, thus is increasing the numbers of Italian production. That's one way. The Italian immigrant law could change for tailors to make immigration to Italy more easier. If you are a tailor, you can immigrate to Italy, continue to work there and to produce there and to live there. That's growing the whole Italian business,
Troy,
in that respect.
I'm sorry, what about made in Italy versus make in India? Are you a proponent? Or
no, of course.
I think Professor Kapalvo would like to say something. So
yeah, sure.
Let's first let her to say intervene.
Sì, parlo in italiano adesso, visto che abbiamo la traduzione simultanea.
Yeah. If you could just switch to simultaneous translation, you'll get the English translation.
Dunque, io voglio innanzitutto fare i complimenti a Troy Costa, Mr. Troy Costa e Narendra Kumar, perché conosco i loro lavori. E quindi molti complimenti. Mi voglio agganciare a quello che ha detto adesso Mr. Troy Costa. Volevo dire che è vero che è importante, come ha detto la collega Olivia Spinelli, essere, da parte dello IED e con la Sapienza siamo un po' complementari, no? Perché loro hanno un'attenzione più sulla parte, diciamo, creativa, mentre i nostri corsi di laurea in Sapienza hanno un taglio culturale e manageriale. Noi facciamo molti corsi di management, quindi grande attenzione anche alla parte di cui parlava adesso Mr. Costa, cioè quindi la parte organizzativa dello sviluppo delle tecnologie per la moda, la parte che riguarda proprio l'organizzazione industriale. Quindi io credo che visto anche, come ho detto nel mio intervento, io ho una formazione economica, come si è capito, quindi i dati economici fra i due paesi mi interessano molto e come ho già detto, l'interessamento dei due governi, indiano e italiano, per uno scambio importante economico fra i due paesi deve costituire per noi che ci occupiamo di moda un momento importante per lanciare i due sistemi della moda indiana e italiano in modo più, come dire, preminente. Io credo che uno scambio in questo senso potrebbe proprio rafforzare, no? Anche la presenza del fashion system, dell'Indian fashion system in Italia e viceversa del sistema moda italiano in India. Una delle cose che possiamo fare, per esempio, quando la pandemia finirà e potremo essere in presenza, io oggi sono in un'università deserta, sto parlando dal mio studio ed è tutto completamente deserto, ma quando finalmente usciremo da questa pandemic, io credo che già sarebbe molto importante se noi potessimo ospitare qui in Sapienza i due fashion designer indiani, a parlare agli studenti, a far conoscere i loro lavori, a cominciare uno scambio importante, come sarebbe importante lo scambio anche con gli studenti. Gli studenti indiani possono venire in Italia anche per un breve periodo ad imparare anche qualcosa sui nostri corsi di management, sui nostri corsi di design, eccetera. E un'altra cosa importante, credo che noi da oggi dobbiamo cominciare a collaborare anche dal punto di vista didattico, per far conoscere ai giovani studenti indiani e italiani quello che si fa in Italia, raccontare la storia del sistema moda italiano ai ragazzi indiani, e loro ci raccontano la storia antichissima e quello che sta succedendo in India. Cioè cominciare, io credo che le università possono essere un tramite per rafforzare la presenza del fashion system indiano e italiano nei due paesi, no? Quindi con questa pandemia abbiamo imparato ad usare la rete ancora di più, quindi noi con la rete possiamo intanto cominciare, aspettando che poi possiamo vederci, a collegarci, a fare delle lezioni, a fare dei seminari, a parlare con gli studenti, insomma cominciare questo rapporto molto importante che poi rafforzeremo organizzando delle iniziative in Italia, invitando anche i fashion designers indiani in Italia e viceversa. Credo che noi su questo dobbiamo veramente, come dire, essere forti per fare in modo che anche i due governi capiscono che il made in indiano e italiano possano costituire una parte fondamentale del rapporto anche economico fra i due paesi. Volevo solo dire questo. Grazie.
Grazie mille. Thank you so much. Gentlemen and ladies, we are running out of time. So quick questions, last observations. It's lunchtime in Italy, so I guess people are getting hungry, and it's tea time in India. So I think we are very complementary civilizations when it comes to food. So I wouldn't like to hold people away from neither their tea nor their lunch. So last observations, please, from the panels. Any questions?
Can I go quickly? Last observation. Yeah. See, the thing is, while we look at this opportunity, we need to keep in mind how the market is going to be in the next 20 years. We can't look at it from what it is today and what it was in the past, but we need to bring the past to see how we can manage to take control of this going over the next 20 years. And that is the important idea. Social media, Gen Z, how do we bring all of this together, and what are the new stories that we are going to tell? That is really important. Thank you.
Professor Narang, would you like to say something?
Yes, I wanted to add something. When we talked about sustainability, I just wanted to draw everyone's attention towards the fact that traditional Indian pattern making is a zero waste pattern making. We do not waste even a centimeter of fabric. We were never a pattern making country because we never wore garments which were stitched and cut. We learned to stitch and cut with the Britishers there. So we have learned our pattern making through there. So we have a lot of time to catch up on, but I think we are not doing a bad job. What Nari and Troy both said, that we need to train more people in pattern making. And we have loads of people who are in the midst of that place where they are leaving the skills, but government and the institutions are doing something for it. We have special seats for people, children of artisans, to come and study and learn the art, not only of textile, which they master, but also of fashion and current scenario. One little thing which I would like to add, which I think we missed out when we were talking about it, NIFT has a unique curriculum where each and every student of ours goes to the craft cluster and studies the crafts and traditional textiles of India, and works with them. And our final year students also end up making their design collections or graduation projects, which are totally based on the crafts and traditional skills of the country. We are doing our little bits, but not as much as what both Nari and Troy said. We need far more. Yes, India has not made schools of pattern masters or make factories where the designers could make garments, and we still have a long way to go. India and at least Italian schools have had a very good collaboration. We have MOUs, NIFT has MOUs signed with a lot of schools over there. We have worked with several schools in the past. And we would be very happy to work with a few more schools.
I see Troy. Troy, give me 1 second, because Professor Ando would like to say something, and then we come to you. So if you don't mind. You're still on mute, madam.
Okay, now it's working. Yeah. First of all, I would like to say thank you for this great opportunity. Sorry, because I have, okay. For this great opportunity to start this dialogue between among colleagues in India and in Italy, and amongst scholars and designers, because I think that this is one of the points, not to share knowledge, to share experiences among people who every day works in the field of fashion, and people who is trying to study the field of fashion, and also to address the challenges in this field. I think that one of the key words is, of course, sustainability. We mentioned this word many times today, and I would like to add just an element that I consider really important in this sense. I think that sustainability is a matter of culture, first of all. So when we talk about sustainability, we of course have to think about new way of production, new way of working with textiles, introducing fabrics, in every kind of elements that are related to the industry and to the production. But we have also to face the problem, the cultural problems of sustainability, in the sense of stimulating the consciousness about sustainability, especially among young generations. And I think that the work we do every day with students, for example at Sapienza, but also in different university, in different institution, is to create this perception of the sustainability as a matter also of practice of consumption, is a cultural issue. And because I heard this morning one of the speakers mentioned the problem that, of course, sustainability is also considered a luxurious consumption activities now, and we in different countries, and with of course differences, we are facing the same problem, because sustainable products are not so widespread, even in Italy, not only in India, because of the price, but also because of the consciousness about this element. So I think we may start in developing a culture of sustainability together, India and Italy. Also, thanks to the contribution of young students, because young generations are the more aware of this kind of issues, and they may, of course, project this consciousness in their project, in their activities in the future.
Thank you. Troy, coming back to you. Sorry.
No, Vas, that's exactly what I wanted to say. What Romana just said, you know, the newer generations are so much more conscious about the concept of sustainability, you know. So she said it extremely well. So I don't need to repeat it.
Just for all your information, with Professor Felicenzi, we will be doing a panel quite soon about the history of Indian textiles, and we're also planning to address the fortunate issues that we at least didn't end up with British food, even though we ended up with British cutting techniques. So at least we were lucky there. So, just picking up on what Professor Narang said, it's historic that the East India Company first came to India for textiles, and then decided that our artisans were a big problem and decided to cut their fingers off. So, and therefore we were left with British cutting. At least our cooks remained. So I'm very attached to Indian food as well as Italian food. So and it's lunchtime. So that said, we will be with Professor Felicenzi doing a panel this year on the Cotton Road, as well as the history of textiles in India, etc. We will also be doing a contest in between three Italian schools with Indian textiles, and it's something that we're working on with Mark, and he is our fearless leader when it comes to this. I'm somebody who just puts together people, so hopefully we'll be able to engage all of you, La Sapienza as well as the European Institute of Design have already signed up, and they'll be nominating 10 students each. We are looking at a third university who will nominate another 10 students, and 30 Italian students will receive Indian textiles to produce 30 different pieces of work. And we try to see how, we maybe we invent a new fashion paradigm, maybe we don't. So we have a lot in store this year, because I think technology and fashion and food, and of course family, are four things that these two countries share. They're both very coastal countries. Both have a very large coast, so very similar geographies, and the people are quite similar. So despite our differences, I think, and I hope that this webinar, I would have loved to have this in person. And we kind of resisted holding this thing online until it was quite sure that this pandemic was going to continue right into this year. So I do hope that our next meeting at some point will be in person, because I do believe that to share the most important parts of what these two cultures have, which is family, food, and philosophy, you need to be in person. You can't do that online. But I do hope that this year, which also begins the celebration of 75 years of Indian independence, we do a lot in this particular field of fashion and textiles, which has a very large echo on India's independence struggle, on why India was colonialized to begin with, etc. So with that, I'll give Mark the mic for concluding remarks, and thank you very much to all of you for participating and for having patience with us. Also, our viewers who had patience with our translation problems, etc. So thank you very much. Mark, over to you for a final conclusion.
Thank you, Vas. And a big thank you to all the panelists who took time out. I'm sure it's lunchtime back in Italy, and here in India, it's tea time for Troy, Vandana, ma'am, and Nari to grab that cup of chai, as we say in India. We look forward to some engaging activities in the Gen Z, the Gen Next space between India and Italy. I think it's time to reignite the Festa Italiana in India and the Festa India in Italy. Having said that, I am sure that all students all over the world must engage in the importance of sustainability when it comes to fiber, when it comes to fabric. And with that regard, I like to compliment a brand called Pangaya, who've grossed over 75 million in 2020 using just fiber, sustainable fiber, biodegradable and eco-friendly. Hats off, and that's the learning for all of us all over the world to promote and engage in sustainable fashion.
Thank you so much, Mark, and
thank you, Vas,
as well. And students and all our viewers, please email us with feedback. If we do manage to do a contest for Indian students as well, we will definitely let you know. Thank you so much. Have a good
thank you.
Have a good tea time, and for all of those in Italy, buon pranzo. Thank you. Have a good
Ciao.
day. Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you to everybody.
Thank
Ciao.
you.
Ciao.